Hello YouTube, Mikey Cal here, and this is video number 22 in my series on utilizing Blender as a video editor. Now, in the previous video, I showed you guys how to utilize the UV image editor to create a mask that we can use to blur the face of the subject of our video. And it also required that I showed you how the auto keyframe system works. But in today's video, I want to introduce you guys to the 3D viewport and the outliner. Now, one of the biggest requests that I get in the comments is, how do we do text overlays or titling in Blender? And I did this video that you were about to see about a week ago. Now, what I realized after I finished this video that you're about to watch is that when you are rendering a 3D viewport scene over top of your video in the sequencer, the render times can be slow as molasses. So it got me thinking that while this will work well for people who are doing shorter video edits or are using lower resolutions, there are some people that will try the things that I'm going to show you in this video and be like, why is it taking 30 seconds to render a second of video? That's just too much, you know. So I came up with another process, and there's going to be a video that is immediately after this. In fact, I'm going to release it at the same time that I release this video. It's going to give you kind of a process that should be faster and should render faster. This video is actually very educational, though, so it will show you some of the fundamental things about the 3D viewport and the outliner and how they work. So I would recommend that if you are a little bit more advanced with Blender, or you are a person who really just wants to know how things kind of how the 3D viewport and the sequencer kind of go together, this is a great video introduction for that. So I'm about to transform into a green shirt right about now. And in today's video, I'm going to finally show you guys the 3D viewports and the outliner, because we're going to create something in the 3D viewport and we're going to overlay it over our video. So what better time than now to show you how to create text in your 3D viewport and overlay it as subtitles. So first thing we need to do is make sure that we have set our rendering engine to Blender Render. So if you haven't set it to Blender Render, go up to this little drop down up here. If it's set to Cycles or something else, just make sure you switch it back to Blender Render. There we go. Now let's actually grab the edge of this window and pull it to the right. Our left mouse button. There we go. And we're going to go up to this little triangular area up here. And if you hover your mouse over it, it gives you a crosshair. Left click and drag to the left, and that will make a replica of the window. And we'll make another one. Let's go up to the little triangle area, and we're going to left click, and that should work. Okay, now we need to go up to the editor drop down for this window, click on it, and select 3D view. And we're going to go up to the editor drop down here and select outliner. And we're going to leave the properties window here because we need to use some of these properties tabs up here. So here is the outliner, and here is the 3D viewport. Now, by default, it should actually have you looking down from the top. And if it's not, for example, if I actually click my mouse wheel button, you can see from a different angle. If you want to make sure that it's looking down from the top, just go to View and select Top, or on your number pad, hit the number 7. And that will give you this view that we have here. So let's go over to our outliner, and our outliner shows us all of the objects that are in the scene of this 3D viewport. They call this a scene, and by default they name this scene Scene. You can go up to this little box right here and you could change the name of it. Let's change it to Text. So Text. And so now it tells us that we have a 3D scene that has a camera, a cube, and a lamp in it. But let's delete everything from this scene. Let's make it the 3D viewport empty. So let's hit our B button over the outliner, and that gives us the border select, or as I call it in the previous videos, box select. Left click and highlight over these three objects, and even if it selects the one above it, it doesn't matter. click on any of the objects and select Delete. And now we have an empty 3D viewport. So what do we see in the center of this viewport? This is called the 3D cursor. And we want to make sure that it's completely centered. And the way we can do that is we can actually go to View, and we can go to Align View, and we can select Center Cursor and View All. And that will place the cursor at the 0 coordinates of the X, Y, and Z. So now what do we need? We need to have a camera, and we need to have a text object. So let's add our camera first, and it places it right at the center. And now let's actually look through our camera before we add our next object. So let's go to View, and we're going to go to Align View, and we're going to select Align Active Camera to View. And now we are looking through our camera at what will be rendered when we click the animation button. So whatever is inside this rectangle will be rendered. So what do we need now? We need a text object. So go to Add and select Text. And it places it right at that 0 coordinate, starting at that. Okay, so what do we need to do now? Well, I usually put subtitles at the bottom part of my video. So let's actually click on this green arrow with our left mouse button, and that allows us to move it, but it restricts it to going up and down on the y-axis. So let's place it down here. Perfect. And now right-click on text, the text object, and go over to your Properties window, and you have these tabs up here. And you'll notice the tabs change depending on what you select. Right now we selected text, so it has this F tab, or Font Data tab. If you left-click on that, it gives us all the settings for fonts. So if you go to regular font, you can actually set any font you like by clicking on the folder and selecting any TrueType font that you have. So you can go and find Helvetica, and it will use that font. But right now we're going to use the default font that it has. So the one thing I need to do in this tab is I need to center this. I want the text to always be centered no matter what I actually type in there. So let's actually go to the paragraph section and click on Center. And no matter what I have typed in here, it will actually center it. Now, the way that you actually edit text is you make sure that it's selected by right-clicking on it, and you hit your Tab key, and it brings it into edit mode. And then you can just backspace, and you can type in whatever you like. And hit Tab to go back to the regular mode. There we go. So now what I want to do is, how do we get this to go over to the preview window? Well, we need to add it as a scene to our sequencer. So the way we do that is we go down to our playback controls, and you have this jump button, the leftmost one. If you click it, it will take you to the first frame in your video. And we're going to go to Add menu, and we're going to select Scene, and you'll see that there's a scene called Text, and that represents this 3D viewport scene. So let's click it, and it places the scene, and you can see it's over here, and it's blocking out the video. Why? Well, that's because by default it renders a gray background. We need to turn that to transparent, and the way that you actually do that is you go over to your property settings, go to the Render tab, the camera, and scroll down, and in the shading section there is an option for alpha. It's set to sky. Switch it to transparent, and now hit refresh sequencer down here. And now it works. This scene strip now will work exactly like a image strip would work. Whereas if you were inserting a transparent PNG, what would you have to do? You would right-click on the strip, you go over to the blend setting, and you set alpha over, and that does the job. Now let's actually see what this would look like rendered. And the way we can do that is if you go over to your properties and click on the camera, there's a option or drop down for display. Switch that to full screen. And now if we hit our F12 shortcut key on our keyboard, it will render the frame that we're looking at. So let's see what this looks like. So okay, it placed our text as we thought it would place it. It looks pretty nice, but it's black and it's kind of big. So let's make some changes. So hit your escape key, or you can actually hit this little button back to previous, and that will bring you back to this layout. So what do we need to do to our text? Well, first let's resize it because it's just a little bit too big. So make sure that it's selected by right-clicking on it and hit your S button on your keyboard for size. And now you can just move your mouse back and forth and just get it right, just by going up and down until you like it. Right about there. I think that should work. Now, if I hit my F12 button again to take a look, okay, I like the size. I want it to be a different color, and black's just not going to work. So blue would be nice. So what I want to do is I need to give the text a material. So if we go over to our properties, right next to that that tab that was the F tab, the font tab, there's a material tab, and it has no material. So let's click New, and so now it made a material that is white. So let's select a different color. I want to make it blue. So I'm going to actually select this from the color wheel, and it's blue. But because we don't have a light source, I need to make sure that this is set to a shadeless material. So if you go down, there's an option for shadeless. So left click on that, and now it'll show you preview. It's a flat shaded color. So it will be represented as we see it here in the 3D view. So let's actually hit our F12 button and see what this looks like now. Nice. That's what I want to see. It's the right size, it's the right color for me. Hit our escape button to go back to this view. Now we want to have a lot of subtitles. We don't want just one. Well, the cool thing about Blender is I can actually make a replica of this object, and it will save all of the settings, and each of those objects I'll be able to change the text, but they'll all be the same color, and they'll all be set to shadeless. I'm going to have to go through this every single time with every object. And the way we do that is make sure you right-click on the text, and you hit your Shift and D button. Now, I would just like to remind you guys that you need to make sure that the cursor is over the 3D viewport for the shortcut to work. And hit Shift D and hit Enter, and you'll notice that it actually created an exact replica. And if you actually open or expand this, the first text object, if you keep expanding it, you'll see that it has a material 01 connected to it, which is representative to the one we set, material 001. Now, if you go to the new object we made and you open that up, you'll see that it's actually attached to the exact same material object. So that means that this new text item will also be blue and will also be shadeless, and we can make as many copies of it as we like. So I'm just going to actually keep making copies of it, put my cursor over the 3D viewport, make sure that the text is selected, and we're going to hit Shift D and Enter, Shift D, Enter, Shift D, Enter. Just keep doing it over and over again until you have as many text items as you want. Now, what we want to do is we want to set the beginning of the movie to turn everything off. We want all of the visibility of the text to be set to not visible. So the way that you do that is, first let's go to the first frame of our movie by clicking this jump button to jump to the first frame. Then you're going to look over in the outliner, and you have these three little options here. You have an eyeball, and you have an arrow, and you have a camera. Now the eyeball means, is this viewable to me when I'm looking at the 3D viewport? Right now, if it's on, that means I can see it in the 3D viewport. But if I actually turn it off, it will disappear. And the arrow means, is this something that I can select? If it's on, then I can actually select the item. If it's not on, then I can't select it. And the camera means, is this something that can be rendered? Now here's something that's very interesting about Blender. Even if you actually make the object, or this text object, not visible in your 3D viewports, if the render option is still on, it will still render it when you hit the animation button in your render settings. So you have to make sure that you not only turn off the visibility to you, but you turn off the renderer at the beginning of the movie, so that it won't render it even though you can't see it. So what we want to do is we want to actually click on the eyeball of the first text object with our left mouse button and drag down, and that will let us actually quickly turn all of these text objects off. And do the exact same thing for the text object's camera or render option. Turn them all off, click with your left mouse button, pull down. Now they have all been turned off, so we just need to insert the keyframe that says make sure that they're off at the first frame. So we hold our mouse cursor over the closed eye, and we hit our I button on our keyboard to insert keyframe. Hold it down and just drag your mouse down, and it will actually insert keyframes into each of those. And do the exact same thing for the camera. Just hold your I button down and drag down. Okay, so now at frame 1, it knows make sure the eyes are closed and that it's not renderable. Okay, so now what do we want to do? Well, if we're doing subtitles, we want to find the points in the movies that we want to lay the subtitles into the preview. So let's just hit the play button, and I'm going to hit the refresh sequencer button, and you notice it disappeared from over here. Hit play, and let's say that I want it to start here. So I want to have my first subtitle there. I'm going to actually open the eye, turn the renderer on, and I'm going to hit the insert keyframe shortcut key, the I button over the eyeball, and hit the insert keyframe button over the camera that has been turned on. And now it will know when it gets to that frame to open the eye, make it viewable, and also make it renderable. So let's hit the play button, and how far do I want this to go? Let's see. I want it to go to about there. And now I want to close the eye, turn the camera off, or the renderability off, and insert a keyframe, insert a keyframe. And now you'll see when I actually go back here, hit refresh sequencer, and play it back, it should actually appear and disappear. There it is. This is a test, and it disappears perfectly. So you can actually do as many of these as you like. Just keep inserting keyframes, turning them on and off. This isn't the fastest thing in the world, but I like that when I teach you this, you're kind of understanding how the fundamentals of things work in Blender. So you can use this to not only make text visible and invisible, you can also use it to make any object visible and invisible. So just remember that you can actually change the text at any time after you have inserted the keyframes. So if you wanted to, if you knew all the locations, you can insert the keyframes for each of those text objects, and then go back to each of them and actually alter the text by just right-clicking on the text and hitting Tab and making it say something else. New text, okay. And hit Tab again to go back to regular mode. And it should actually, refresh sequencer, it should show up there. Okay, I want to make one additional note, and that is that I would recommend that if you're going to add a scene from your 3D viewport to your sequencer, always do this very last. I mean, after you've actually done all of the editing in your sequencer. And the thing about Blender is that it, for some reason, doesn't like when you actually mess around with this strip. So once you've laid it down, what it's going to do is it will always fill the entire frame range from beginning to end. I would not recommend ever changing the size of this strip, and I wouldn't recommend changing the actual frame range after you've actually laid the strip. It causes Blender to go kind of haywire, and it loses all the keyframes. So again, I'm just saying that what you need to do is add the scene last, after you've actually finished doing all the rest of the editing, and after you've already set your frame range from beginning to end. And if you do that, you shouldn't have any issues with the scene rendering and honoring all of the keyframe settings. So that is one way that you guys can do subtitles, but really the reason why I wanted you guys to do this tutorial this way, instead of maybe importing an image, a transparent image from GIMP or Photoshop, or even using some of the add-ons for Blender, is I think this really teaches you some fundamental things that are very helpful to understand. Is what we've learned is that if we want to have an object in the 3D view over in our preview window or in our final video, it needs to have two objects at minimum: a camera to show what's going to be rendered in the 3D view, or to show the perspective and everything, and an object that is set to shadeless, or if we want to have shade, we need to add a light source. So let me know what you guys think about this, and I guess I'll see you guys in the next video.